All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the 1883 Speaker Series. My name is Mike Wozniak. I serve as the Coordinator of Leadership and Programming in the Student Involvement and Parent Programs Office. Each week, we invite a campus or community leader to talk about how today's student can develop their leadership skills, as well as other advice regarding personal and professional development. We hope you learn some valuable lessons in the next 18 minutes and 83 seconds. For today's speaker, please join me in welcoming UND's Athletic Director, Bill Chaves.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Test. How am I doing? Mike, okay? Good. We're good. Good afternoon, everyone. This is great. Pressure's on, 1883. Holy cow, let's go. I figured I'd start with some background. So just to give you a context of maybe where I'm coming from, I've been at 7 universities, 4 publics, 3 privates, and even had a stint in high school athletics as well in my home state of Connecticut. So I think anything that I'm about to say today, you can say I derived from the fact that I've worked not necessarily for, but at least with 13 university presidents and 8 athletic directors. And so you see a lot in that, how leadership styles evolve for everyone. So let's go right into styles. So I love this thought process. I'm hope-based. I am not a fear-based leader. I think in terms of when I get even when I've gotten a new job at times, I always think through what staff is here and how can we help them get better. At the end of the day, trust me, I don't have all the answers. I'm better when my staff is with me and we're collaborating together. So I'll say, what's the role of a leader? Well, it's define reality and set expectations. I have to admit, though, and I say this to our staff all the time, I worry about what our staff worries about. At the end of the day, I wonder, sometimes I walk down the halls and I look in the door and I go, what's Dom thinking right now? What's Dom thinking? Is Dom thinking the bigger picture for the university? Is he? Question mark. And I'll ask him at some stage of the game. But I think that's a leader's job. Can you work off script? Not everything is going to be dialed in for you. You can go through higher ed classes. I am telling you, the things that walk in my door, most of them are off script. So you just have to manage that. So what maybe is the opposite of it? I would say professional insecurity. That over my time, my 30 plus years, if someone is maybe in a position maybe they're not ready for or not qualified for, I think it lends to some insecurity. I think at the end of the day, we as staff members, we need to always help whomever we are either working with or working for. So some leadership tenets. I'm just going to kind of blast some at you right now. And I believe in these. I really, really do. And I think the first one is, that's my initial definition, right? It's when people do not have to follow you. They want to follow you. I think that ultimately at the end of the day is a mark of a great leader. Ask great questions. I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, but how many times, Marty, do I say to our staff, ask great questions? I say it to our student athletes, don't ask good questions, ask great questions. Just don't ask a question. You know what? Try to engage with folks to get to a great outcome. Great ones adjust. They do. You know what? If you can't pivot on a daily basis, you are going to struggle as a leader because you have no idea what is you. If I walk in every day at 7:30, I have no idea what's going to happen at 8:07. But you know what you need to do? You need to think through what is in the best interest, in our case, the student athlete, the university, or the department. I love Dr. Armikos' issue of the day. You know what? We have an issue of the day. When we have an issue of the day, you know what? Don't get too caught up in some things. Because guess what? Tomorrow, you're going to have another issue of the day. So just, you know what? Manage and handle that situation. Is what we're doing more important than what we should be doing? We should be asking that question every single day. We really should. Now, you can't ultimately, at the end, change, some things that you have to do. But at the end, that's a great question to ask. I love some in-ons, right? Micro and macro. So I'll talk it. When I first became an athletic director, I felt like I had two jobs. I felt like I was the associate AD for external affairs and the director of athletics. So I was in and I was on the department a lot of times. We talk sometimes about hunting and farming. That's kind of a micro macro thing as well. You know what? You need farmers and you need hunters. We're starting to talk about fishing. Not sure what fishermen are at this point in time, but you know what? I think fishing fits in there somewhere as well. Stay in your lane, know your lane. It's a hard one. It's a hard one. Sometimes you want to know other people's lane. You know what? Sometimes you need to know your lane, understand what your role is, and stay within that role. That's incredibly important. 10-foot rule. Love that. LA Toyota had it. You know what? Everybody's responsible for 10 feet around you. You see a piece of paper on the grass, go pick it up. Go pick it up. It's your job. It's 10 feet. Someone comes in. If I walk in and I'm in the lobby of Hislop and someone walks in, guess what? If I'm the only one there, we're greeting them. We're greeting them because it's within 10 feet. If you're within 10 feet, I'm telling you, it can be your job as well. Pivot, not panic. And then the last one, that's what I had on my refrigerator when my kids were growing up. And they could recite it right now, today. Don't lie, don't cheat, you'll steal. Don't whine, don't complain, don't make excuses. If you say that every time, I'm telling you, that covers a lot of things. And if you say that over and over again, there's a good chance you're going to have an okay life if you don't do those things. So on to leadership. I believe this, you can lead from any chair. You can lead from any chair. And I'm telling you, it is incredibly important that you do lead from the chair. If you think I know everything that's going on in the department, that is false. That is false. But I should be comfortable enough that folks will come to me to discuss things that might need to be managed. Best job? You know what the best job is? The one you have. That's the best job. Because at the end, you know what? You might have a career path, but you know what? Today, the job you have today is the one. That's the best job you have. So embrace it. And you know what? Do what you can do in the one you have. I loved white river rafting, right? Participate in your own rescue. Basically, you know what that it stands to me? It's don't come with all kinds of problems. Come with some solutions too. At the end of the day, we can all identify problems. Everyone can identify problems. What's the possible solutions as well? And then Blue Angels, happy to be here. That's their thought process, right? And I will say this, I saw a gentleman speak from the Blue Angels, and they said when they have a bad day, people die. That's their bad day. That is their bad day. Fortunately, most times that is not the case being an athletic director. So you know what? You work in our department, mostly we're having great days. Great days. You could have some challenges. You could have the issue of the day, but it's a great day. If anybody watches The Crown, just telling you, Queen Elizabeth, I love this. I love this. She said it. Does it need to be said? Does it need to be said now? Does it need to be said by me? You know what? Sometimes it needs to be said by me. Sometimes it doesn't. I actually go through that exercise. And if it's something it needs to be said by me, I'll say it. I love the Eisenhower Matrix as well. You know what? If you're going to tell me this urgent thing is coming in, now maybe it is really important, could be a safety issue. Totally get it. Totally get it. But most urgencies is probably something that is not ultimately that important. The things that are really, really important are not that urgent. So something to think about. So we always talk about athletics. If a student comes up to you and says, what's your job? I tell them it's a people business. I work with people. And so at the end of the day, it is incredibly important to manage and work with people and help them every single day. So hiring. So that's my thought. This is my thought process. Is the candidate prepared? You know what? I usually can tell within the first 5 minutes of an interview. I usually can. I usually can say, you know what? Oof, this person is either on it or not on it, may or may not want this job. I am telling you, I've gotten to the place where I'm telling you 5 minutes in, I'm going, this one's going to last a while. If not, we might be headed to, do you have any questions for me? I mean, it might be that quick. That's where we might be headed. Has a plan. Just tell me you prepared something. Tell me you did some research on us and that you have a potential plan. Right fit at the right time. You just may or may not be the right fit at the right time. And again, I love this. Bob Myers, Golden State. How can you figure out how you'll be at your worst? Because you're probably going to see someone their best. I need to know how they're going to be at their worst. Looking for character, looking for competence, and energy. I'm telling you, I need energy. If you're not excited to be in this conversation, I'm not sure we can work together. That's probably it. I need you really excited to want to be here at the University of North Dakota. And again, I do believe this, and I wish I had said this when I got here 6 years ago. When you are hired as a new leader, everybody in your department actually has a new job too. You know what? Just because they were there before the leader doesn't mean now their actual job may actually start changing with the thoughts of the new person coming in. And again, I didn't say that when I was here. I don't know when I thought about that, but keeping it on that slide, just in case. Moving someone on. Someone once told me when you first think of it. Think about that. I'm thinking about challenging you all to think about, you know what? Sometimes it doesn't work out or it's not working out. And usually when you first think of it, you might be thinking, you know what, we can work through things. I know, there's certainly an HR process. We get it all. But at the end of the day, sometimes you are doing a favor for someone to kind of have a conversation with them and say, you know what, maybe there's a better chapter somewhere else. You know what? And again, I like what Alan Mulally said, right? It's okay to be how you are, potentially maybe just not here. And then ultimately, I do believe this, everyone has a shelf life. Everyone has a shelf life. And you know what? You've got to think through what makes sense for you professionally. And the worst part is someone if they've quit and stayed. That is a tough one. And that's a leader's job to try to ferret that out. So culture and communication. I will say this. They go hand in hand because communication or lack thereof is a culture killer. It really is. You're either going to be having a culture by design or by default. This just in, you're going to have culture. You're going to have a culture, but it needs to be intentional. Everything needs to be intentional. And we say it to our coaches all the time. And we say it to our staff. It's either coached or allowed. That's it. I mean, it's either managed or allowed. And so at the end of the day, again, there's a good way of saying things. And when you say things well, you're actually helping somebody. Again, poor communication. And you can read through if you communicate over someone, most people remove themselves from the conversation. If it's at you, you know what? You're probably going to get a reaction. If it's to you, you know what? Probably not much feedback. But you know what? The best kind of communication is with each other. That's when you can actually make the magic happen. So I do like the 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And, Pat Lencioni, it's a great book. But, the absence of trust. At the end of the day, we've all been in relationships in all of our life. That's the core. If you don't have trust, it doesn't matter. You can be the smartest person in the world. It doesn't. You need trust. You can work up, the ladder, but, the fear of conflict, the lack of commitment, the avoidance of accountability, the inattention to results, all of those things. One thing he doesn't put on that, and I was just talking to Liz Jarnigan about it today, is reduce drama. Reduce drama. Drama is a team killer. It's a culture killer. I'm telling you, if you want drama, you should literally go to the theater department because at the end of the day, in our department, it doesn't work. With a team, it doesn't work. So again, you're trying to always reduce drama. So culture and communication, ask great questions. Ask great questions. And the how and what is much better than the why and when. How and what, we're teammates. We're in it together. Why or when? Ooh, are you trying to put me in a corner? You trying to ask me something? Are we teammates at this point in time? Don't be critical, right? Always be curious. But I love the how and what versus the why and when. And then I always look at when, we have so many generations here all the time in the workforce. And we've got to be really cognizant and thoughtful on how we communicate with each other. Because a lot of times it could be by text, it could be by email, it could be face-to-face. There's nuance. So at the end of the day, you have to make sure you think through how to communicate well. So ask these 4 questions to create good culture. For us, is it good for the student athlete? Is it good for the department? Is it good for the university? Is it good for the state? What I don't ask, is it good for me? Really, truly, at the end of the day. It's not about you. It's about everybody else. Change. Love the little graphic, right? Everybody wants it. I'm not sure everyone wants to do it. And then change. I know a comfort zone. Ooh, it is beautiful, but not much grows there. And so sometimes you've got to stretch yourself. That's how you get to a different level from a culture standpoint. So what happens if you don't evolve? Take a look at those companies. How'd it work out for them? My guess is not too well, because at the end of the day, they're out of business. And at one point, they had market share. I do like this line too. There is no finish line. There is no finish line. In the jobs that we do administratively, you just keep going on. It's a conveyor belt. It's a conveyor belt. And there's literally, I oversee sports where there is a finish line. Administratively, no finish line. Although Danny Freund recruiting, is there any finish line? No finish line at this point in time. So ultimately, it's about time too. Love these 2 quotes by Steve Jobs and Chancellor Lombardi. When I was at the University of Massachusetts, and then he was at Florida. Then I crossed over with him at UMass, and then he went to Florida. But I do like that. Money matters, performance counts, time is the enemy. It's usually about time. But I'll tell you what, the resources do matter. Performance does matter. It really does. So favorite books. I know I kind of stole this because Andy had it out there on his to make sure that there's books out there. So I had to make sure that I got at least 3 books there. But I love Good to Great. I love the thought processes. What's the enemy of great? Good. That's the enemy of great. So again, if you talk about a level 5 leader, you can read about it there. It's a great, great book. And then already discussed the 5 dysfunctions. And then organizational health, the advantage. What a great book about having culture and organizational health be at a zenith for your department. With that, I think I'm done at about that 18 minutes and 83 seconds.
Yes. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that. All right. Thanks to all 8 for attending as well. Join us next week to hear from the mayor of East Grand Forks, Steve Gander. Have a great rest of your week, and thank you.